thing for a man of nonviolence to have to say. But that was a long, long time ago. He couldn't have dreamed of the violence that government has now regimented with the consent of the people. We've got 24 nuclear submarines called Trident II commissioned. Each can launch 24 of 96 missiles it carries. It can launch 24 simultaneously. Each missile can contain 17 independently targeted maneuverable nuclear warheads. Each can travel 7,000 nautical miles, which is 14,000 when you go in both directions. It's more than halfway around the ample waste of Mother Earth. And each warhead can strike within 100 feet of a predetermined target because it was designed as a first strike weapon. And carry a warhead 10 times more powerful than the bomb that incinerated Nagasaki Unbeldi. 408 centers of human population with perhaps 1 million people each from one launch, capable of rendering this planet as lifeless as the moon. Will a government that would build, would a government that would imagine, conceive, manufacture, launch, and maintain on the high seas today, years after the end of the Cold War, such an omnicidal weapon, worry about these beautiful children, these women and men, these religious people praying in their church who they murdered here?
Murdered, amen.
You've got to address it all. I came back from Chiapas, Mexico 2 weeks ago. There are 1,100,000 Mayan descendants down there, full-blooded Indian peoples living an Indian lifestyle, not speaking Spanish, certainly not speaking English, speaking Mayan languages. There's still about 12 that are extant. They're starving to death. There's 75,000 armed, heavily armed military personnel of the Mexican Army, trained by our people with our tanks, with our helicopters, the same equipment you saw out here assaulting this little church. 75,000 against their own people. That's compared to 36,000 NATO troops in Bosnia, where you've got 3 armies to worry about, not Indian peasants who don't have guns even. That's the kind of militarism that we're carrying on. Our military budget for the last fiscal year was $265 billion, which is 5 times greater than the second largest nation. The People's Republic of China, that we fear so much, spent $32 billion. But our money is spent far more efficiently. Look at the Trident II. If violence is the purpose of the dimes you spend on militarism. On March the 11th of 1993, 2 good men of the cloth, Dean Kelly, who spent the last 30 or 40 years of his life struggling for religious freedom worldwide and became the director of the National Council of Churches Committee on Religious Freedom, and James Burr, who's the director of the what's called the Baptist Joint Committee, wrote a letter to the President of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton. This is 11 days into this brutal siege in which every conceivable form of psychological torture that had been learned through years and years of experience was employed on the women and children who they subsequently cremated right here. And the first sentence of that letter was, "Dear Mr. President, please end the military confrontation the United States is conducting against that church now. We're afraid people will be killed." Everybody knew what was happening. Basically, we're in a struggle for the truth that can set us free. We've always known that the long struggle for freedom is between memory and forgetting. But you have to remember the truth. And the essential thing is to establish the truth. And we see an enormous conspiracy against the truth. Do you remember the polls in 1993? 1993, by coincidence, the poll showed 93% of the American people blamed David Koresh for all the deaths that occurred here. What madness, you know. You see what a struggle we have. The president's still talking, it was our fault. He's like, the devil made me do it, you know. It is essential that we struggle for the truth. That's what this lawsuit is about. That's why people like Joe Phillips work night and day struggling for the truth to come out. We only need one thing to get it, and that's a simple order that says the United States government must tell us what it did, what it knows, because it is the actor that conducted all of these assaults, that shot and bombed and killed these people. The truth will out. The question is when. And our duty as human beings to see that it is out quickly and soon. We have to engage in the struggle for the duration until the truth is known. We owe it to those who died here. Amen. We owe it to those who come here after. We've been told, and I think it's true, that justice is truth in action. Without the action, you're not going to get justice. You know? We have to act. We can act. We've got to carry on every front. That's why these films, like Michael and others are making, are so critically important, because they're the powerful means of communication to people who are saturated with information and misinformation and garbage constantly. They can't see important things that are important to the survival of everything we cherish, including the Constitution of the United States and we the people. The struggle was told long ago. Today is the 50th anniversary of Israel. We have to remember its suffering. We have to remember that the Star of David flew on the flagpole there. I wonder how many U.S. troops that irritated. You remember that the ATF flag went up later? Can you remember that? Never forget, the ATF flag flew on that flagpole. God help us. What barbarism. Whatever the state of Israel has done to the Palestinian people, we have to remember their suffering and share in it, and remember the suffering of the Palestinian people, and prevent it. We have to love all the people, and prevent violence, and demilitarize the planet. And in the ancient Hebrew words of Deuteronomy, above all, our command is tzedek, tirdof. Justice, justice, thou shalt pursue. God bless you, everyone. Whoa, that's a big man. I have one more speaker that I'd like to introduce, and he didn't even know he was going to talk here today. But it's the talk show host that put together the busload of people that came up from Austin, Texas. He's on radio station KJFK in Austin, does a program called The Real Spin. His name is Alex Jones. Alex? Yeah.
Well, it's hard to speak after Ramsey Clark, Attorney General during the Carter administration. Did you hear what he was just telling you? There is a massive consolidation of local police departments under federal control, the Multi-Jurisdictional Task Force and the JTF-6, which is based at Fort Bliss, Texas. They wear black ski masks. They train in military tactics. And they are the big gun and the long arm of the IRS and the criminal system that is running this nation. Make no mistake, the murders of these people and these children was about one thing and one thing only. It was about terrorism against the American people. It was about testing and pushing the limits to see if the government could surround a group, if they could kill those people and burn it to the ground. Waco Rules of Engagement shows the automatic weapons fire as men and women tried to exit the back of the building. That's where most of the bodies were found, right in the edge. Hit squads, military black ops, the same ones that destroyed Oklahoma City, just like Hitler burned the Reichstag in 1933. I mean, where is our country when ex-attorney generals of the United States of America are here telling you that Reno and the rest of them and the Republicans and the Democrats are all the same people? I mean, it just makes my heart swell with pride that we do have people like Ramsey Clark and others and this whole crowd out here that is standing in defiance of tyranny. Amen. And I'll take a line from that movie, Braveheart. What would you give, dying in your bed all these years from now, to have just once stood up in defiance of tyranny? To put on the armor and to ride out on the field against the enemy. And violence is not the way to go. They are the ones that use violence. They are the ones that are dangerous.
Amen.
Understand that. We've got to use information like Waco Rules of Engagement. I mean, that documentary is so powerful because it doesn't exaggerate, it doesn't lie. For 3 hours, it lays out the information for you to see. And where is the mainstream media editing this information out? You have federal agents killing men, women, and children. They came that day and opened fire first. Helicopters came in and assaulted. Right. And now we find out, and it's going to come out in the next documentary, and think about this, that they sent in death squads with breathing apparatus to kill those people inside because they couldn't have any witnesses of what really happened on the first day of the 51-day standoff. So we're dealing with murder, we're dealing with terrorism against the American people, and this is nothing new in the history of the world. Authoritarian regimes always seek to control the modes of finance, the printing of money, transportation, food production, you name it, it's all coming under federal control under the guise of environmentalism, which is nothing but a cult now. It's very, very serious. Somebody has got to stand up. More people have got to stand up. FEMA, under Senate Resolution 21, is building hundreds of concentration camps on military bases. Set up for families, areas for men, areas for women, areas for women with children, and areas for men who have families on the other side of the camp. And by the way, they have triple the guard towers, and I have played this many times on my television show. It's just out of control. I have congressmen on tape, Henry B. Gonzalez and others, admitting this. Look at the world. And then I'm going to get off here because there's others have a lot more to say than me. Hitler killed 40 million. The communists in Russia killed about 100 million. The communist Chinese, we're not sure, 100, 200 million. And it's still going on, and we're buying slave goods from these people. They're moving into Long Beach Naval Base.
That's right.
They're moving into the high desert of California at Victorville and Adelanto and building 20 mini-malls to bring in slave goods directly. This is a deindustrialization of our plan. Right. And it is just sick what's happening to our country, and people have got to stand up against it if freedom is going to survive. And the plans are there, make no mistake, but don't be fearful. People that lay down, I mean, ask yourself, how did the Germans allow Hitler to come to power? They believed his propaganda. Most of the death camps were off in Poland. Keep it away, keep it on military bases, keep it behind closed doors. This is what's happening, make no mistake, and the mainstream media is going around. Last week in Austin, a mainstream media station went out and had reporters on the street asking, where will terrorists strike next? They're introducing this into the psychology. They're creating a new cosmology of fear and preparing people for terrorism. And I just want to warn you one more time. State-sponsored terrorism is the #1 brand worldwide. Oklahoma City was terrorism. What happened right here where I'm standing in Waco back in 1993 on April 19th was state-sponsored terrorism. It was a test to see if you'd lay down. And I'm telling you something, they're taken back now because their propaganda and their lies worked for a while, but you see that the polls are changing. More and more people are waking up to what's happening. So I want to challenge you to talk to 10 people a week, get them to see Waco Rules of Engagement. I have nothing to do with this documentary, but it's so incredibly powerful. You have got to get this and get it into congressmen's hands, your friends' hands, judges in your local cities, because this can be a revelation to the people of America, to the people that just want to be pragmatic, to the people that are just relativists and don't care as long as tyranny doesn't come knocking on their door. And I'll just paraphrase this. We've all heard the famous quotes and statements. When they came for the Jews, they didn't come for me, so I left it alone. When they came for the Catholics, when they came for all these different groups, I stayed there. And finally, when they came for me, there was nobody left to stand up for me. This is the real deal. This is human history. This is not some foggy conspiracy theory. I have to tell you, 4 years ago, I thought what happened at Waco was wrong. But I believed a little bit of the propaganda. I thought, well, you know, this and that. And the more I studied this, the more I found out it's worse than even what Waco Rules of Engagement or Day 51 had to offer. And that's why I'm glad that they're coming out with a new documentary, because this is what it's going to take. It's going to take information to the public. Information is power. So stop reacting and start acting and stand up against this police state, or we're going into 100% taxation, 100% tyranny. And just because it's packaged sweetly and has a nice, flashy exterior, the interior is barbed wire and pure slavery. Thank y'all for being here.
Thanks, Evan. Great job. If you all have a pencil and a piece of paper, I'd like for you to write something down. There are a lot of people placing a lot of things on websites, on the internet, and false information, and a lot of strange things. Now this is the Branch Davidian website, Mount Carmel Center. http://start.att/Mount Carmel. I'll read it again. http://start.at/Mount Carmel. That's where you'll find out what's really going on. I'm sorry? MT.
Do it again, Ron.
Okay. http://start.at/MT. Start.at/MT.Carmel.
We'll get there.
Sooner or later. A Branch Davidian survivor would like to say a few words. Gladys Houtman. Hartman. I beg your pardon, Gladys. Let me fix this for you.
I bring you greetings from Canada and from some of our brethren in prison, Rainus Abram, Jamie Costello, Brad Branch, Kevin Wycliffe, my daughter Ruth, who has recently been released from prison, Ruth Riddle. I've been asked other years to speak, but I haven't been able to bring myself to that point. But two of the things that I noticed, especially today at the beginning of the program and again by our just recent speaker, was about coming into unity on Mount Carmel. And last year as we journeyed home from the program, this poem was given to me as we came into Shreveport in the midst of a thunder and lightning storm which lasted the whole night. And in the morning, Annetta Richards, my son Philip, and I completed this poem. Coming into unity on Mount Carmel. On Mount Carmel the myrtles blow. Beneath the name stones, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the mockingbirds still sweetly singing fly. As souls beneath the altar cry, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not avenge our blood on those that dwell in the earth? We are the dead. Today it's 5 years ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, but now our blood cries out on Mount Carmel. Will you, our fellow servants and dear brethren too, take up our quarrel with the foe? Ears stop. Why stop ears when light should flow? To you from faithful hearts we throw the torch. Sweet 7 seals reward be yours to hold it high. Up hither, sweet song of liberty, open book of life, Lamb of God, our Lord, who set us free from sin and death and tyranny. If you break faith with us who cry, we shall not live, though myrtles blooming blow on Mount Carmel. And I would like to tell you that the 7 seals is now in written form. Through one of our men in prison, God has continued with the work that God started to do through David Koresh, and you can find it on the internet.
What we'd like to do right at 12 noon is read the names of all of those that died on this piece of property. And that gives us about 15 minutes. Over here, there's a little refreshment stand if you'd like to get yourself something to drink. And if you'd be back here in about 15 minutes at 12 noon, we'll conclude. Thank you.
Well organized to hold the government to the fire.
My understanding through the structure of the court system, there's going to be going for internal prosecutor.
We had a went to a different part of the shoot where conducted a shot stuff like this and prizes were added and
Sure.
so we do this in 2 seconds.
Sure.
And sometimes a lot of people show up.
Everyone's actions in Waco. I mean, as I say,
But the leader,
look at the same people that brought you Ruby Ridge in the hierarchy.
To say hello.
The same folks
You
that
know,
were on the onset
way
of
back
the
on
and that should send a theme of seeing that there are problems. There are problems that need to be clarified, and it doesn't need to be a matter of someone losing their job or conveniently retiring. They should be held accountable even after retirement for what occurred.
because you, for example, speaking of you were
But I didn't know it then. Had I known
And I was
it,
completely
I had
against.
to
I was
leave what I
completely
was
against
told.
the April 19th
I would have been in touch.
UCCS
I've
gas.
been many times.
but if
Program director, he called my program director. My program director called me and gave me everything. So I called Gary, gave him my phone number. huge matter. We spent so much time on the phone when the system was constant. The battery went down before it could call.
So you didn't get to
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to know that you were in the trenches.
Well, yeah.
I don't think there's any saving. I think they decided a long time ago. I told everybody I knew that.
Hey, sir. Sir?
Sit down. Both of you right here in front of me.
There's a lot of money in that thing, so I'm sure they'll get whatever fix needs to be.
Society tells people do what we say or we'll kill you.
Yes.
I mean that's the mentality of a police state.
Well, Mr. Clark, just a couple more questions. Again, Attorney General in the LBJ administration, and you also worked in the Kennedy and the Carter administration?
I worked 8 years Kennedy Johnson. I did one assignment, maybe two, for President Carter. The first one having to do with the hostages.
I was mistaken. I got it in front of the podium and got it mixed up. But the thing that I don't think that the American public realizes is that this military training is going on. What are some things that we can do to get this reversed, hopefully?
Well, I think we have to resist at every level. If you don't work at the national level, you can't expect the local level. I mean, after all, we're providing a lot of federal funds for the local level, and they love it.
And that brings control.
It brings control. It brings technology. It brings things they don't need. You know,
infrared.
Who needed tanks out here? Yeah, we got everything that billions and billions of dollars of research and development provides the military are now being.
It's going into civilian control. Have you seen Waco Rules of Engagement?
Sure.
It's horrifying, isn't it?
It's horrifying. The whole story is even more.
Sir, I didn't actually see this last year, but I heard about it, reported in some of the alternative press. Is it true that last year you spoke about how the Trilateral Commission is running the country?
Well, I've criticized the Trilateral Commission for many years, but I don't really think the Trilateral Commission is running the country. I think
CFR?
I think the same people
are control it.
The same people that run the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, and
those are just front groups.
Sure, I mean they're just
meeting houses.
They're organizations through which they implement their power, and it's an international group that maintains power through the multinational corporations and media and all that.
Yes, sir. And wouldn't you say that now what you have is corporate socialism for them and slavery for us?
Well, you've got corporate wealth for them. They don't.
It's called stealing.
It can be called stealing, although it's stealing on such a grand scale that you'd have to call it grand larceny.
I think I've said this 3 times, but just to ask, well, are there any comments or things that you'd like to say to the audience in Austin who's going to be watching this about what they, I mean, I just want to go back to solutions. We see an awakening in the nation. We see the establishment and the media becoming conscious of this, and now I've seen a new tactic. They're now disclosing more and more abhorrent information in an attempt to desensitize us, in my opinion. Would you agree with that, and do you have any comments to that?
Well, propaganda is one of the main means they employ: demonization, fear of crime.
Amen.
Every individual.
The Hegelian principle?
Yeah, every individual has an obligation to be involved in this struggle to live free and want your children who come after to live free. You can't be bystanders. Right now, we really risk the spread of militarization throughout the world that is endangering the poor everywhere. It's a desire to control by force. There's so many people and so much poverty, and there's so much technology that can destroy people that is being employed against people everywhere. The poor here, the poor nations abroad. So we have to work on slashing our military budget to bare bones. It ought to be slashed 90%. We've got to cut back on all hardware for police. Police ought to serve the people, not be a force. It shouldn't be a paramilitary concept. It ought to be a social service concept that deals sensitively with people. We have to deal with the basic problems. While we have poverty, we're going to have the problems that poverty creates. Poverty is the mother of crime. Plato told us that 2,500 years ago. Pretty obvious then. It's pretty obvious now.
Yes, sir.
Gotta go.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. That was a good interview.
My name's Sam Nave. I do a different kind of newspaper. We fax it. Don't like to put it on the internet because we have paid subscribers. I also have some news service.
Put this up.
I've got one story that you'd probably want, which I will fax to you if you have.
You got his
business
card?
card.
Yes, sir.
Alex,
Sure. I just put it right here. I appreciate it. I'll love to get that from you. In fact, you can be a guest on my radio show if you like.
Alex?
Yes, sir.
Can I do a short interview with
yes,
you?
sir. This is a good place.
No.
Yeah, this is fine.
Got 2 hours sleep last night. I can't believe I should have got more sleep.
The news service. I'm in the print media too, but I do electronic. And
What if you could stand over?
Call me and I'll get you as a guest on the radio.
print.
Let me talk to you in a second. Hey, man, you did a good job. Thanks for remembering that. I was splash some water in my face.
Oh, you look fine. But do back up.
Website?
Back up 1 foot.
Y'all put
this
this.
I'm
I
not
hope it's in the documentary.
The facts in print media.
Goodness. What are you doing in Austin? I mean, what's going on?
I'm pretty sure you want me to do it right here because they're being real loud.
Most of them.
Yeah, they are.
You give this to everybody.
I don't want to bug you. I just see me out here with a VHS camera. That's just because of pure laziness. I didn't even bring my good camera. Just brought my buddy. So, are y'all working on that new documentary? Man, I tell you, I'm envious and jealous. It's such an awesome documentary. The first one y'all did.
That's what the last place that was supposed to be 92.
Yeah.
That was the last time it was supposed to be.
I hear that.
Okay, how about here with the little bit of the bus in the background there? That's good.
If we can get everybody to come back over.
Okay, well that's it. I'll try to get you later. What are you doing to get the message out in Austin?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm encouraging people to get Waco Rules of Engagement because it's a very honest depiction. I've seen some of the other documentaries that in a way seemed like they were kind of, too much slanted towards the Davidians, whereas Waco Rules of Engagement takes a documentation and makes it even more forceful by doing it very elaborately, very consistently over a long period of time. And I'm kind of messed up, man. I'm never like this. I'm just tired. I'll start over. I'm sorry.
Okay.
What I'm doing to get information out to the people is I encourage them to get alternative sources of information. The New American Magazine. I encourage people to get Waco Rules of Engagement because it's so well documented and so methodical in its presentation of the facts and the information of the government-sponsored terrorism that happened here in 1993 on April 19th. But I've been an FM radio host for about 16 months. I've had a TV show for about 3 years. And all I do is bring guests and information and try to expose what's happening. And it really is incredible what's happening in this country. But you can see the backlash. You can see more and more people becoming conscious of the police state here in our country. Ramsey Clark, a famous attorney general, was just up on the podium here speaking about what's been happening, what's been going on, the growing militarization of our local police departments under federal control. The thin blue line, that euphemism, really means militarized tactics in our local police, and we hear about it more and more on the mainstream media. Secretary of Defense William Cohen just a short time ago announced on CNN that they're going to create 10 regional teams to work with local law enforcement under FEMA. That's totally unconstitutional, and yes, they do wear black. And I think that's very scary that people in black uniforms wearing black ski masks are training with semi-automatic and fully automatic weapons. Local law enforcement centers are being given free federal helicopters and armored personnel carriers and weapons. And when you see this growing in our nation, you can see that the disparity between rich and poor is getting larger and larger. You can really tell that that the corporate establishment is engaging in more and more criminality, and they're the real group that is getting all the corporate welfare. So I would just say to everybody out there, it's time to have an information revolution. It's time to quit trusting the mainstream media. I'm not saying turn away from them, but you need to support independent filmmakers, people that are putting out documentaries and information, because if we don't, the pendulum is going to continue to swing towards authoritarian command and control, and we're going to be in a lot of trouble. My eyes were closed the whole time.
I've got a question while you're still on tape.
Sure. Go ahead.
I didn't get a chance to make it earlier when you was making your speech. But do you think the federal authorities, by all due respect, should just get slapped on the hand?
Yes, they're getting slapped on the hand. I mean, they're investigating themselves. The FBI behave like a bunch of renegade criminals, and if you give people unlimited power, unlimited secrecy, I mean, look what Frederick Whitehurst, ex-head of the FBI Crime Lab, said. They're manufacturing evidence from Oklahoma City to the World Trade Center bombing to Waco. I mean, it's out of control. We cannot trust anything that our federal government's doing. I'm not saying they're all bad, but fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. They just continually to lie to us. They have a terrible track record. It's come out in the mainstream media now that they tested chemical and biological weapons on us in the 50s and 60s, in the New York subways. I mean, what kind of government? Who is running things when it's like this?
Well, shouldn't it be the parties in charge still have their chance in court for prosecution?
I am for indictments to be handed down to Janet Reno, Webster Hubble. Of course, he's already been in federal prison. Mr. Ricks, the FBI spokesperson. They engaged in lies. They held the media back. They held the fire trucks back so that the evidence would be burned. That was a Nazi crematorium.
I talked to David Perez, his mother, yesterday, and I asked her about it, and she said the structure of how the court system is, she's still
Bonnie Holdeman?
Right, she's still going to get them into criminal court. Well, the Republic of Texas is putting the court together.
I've heard about that. In fact, they gave me some documentation about that earlier. Listen, though, but see, I'm for staying in the United States of America. We're not going to defeat this by balkanizing. We have got to be peaceful. We've got to have our information straight. We have got to move forward against this establishment, which is absolutely authoritarian. I mean, it is. We see our country. It is beginning to take shape. The pattern of history is beginning to happen. And if we don't have a revelation, and I don't mean a religious revelation, I mean a renaissance, a revelation of information, we are going to be doomed to 100% taxation, barbed wire, and slavery.
And one of the things is back when it was happening, I was aware of it. You said it took you a little bit.
You're right. You're right.
To get it.
Well, I mean, from the day it happened, I knew something was wrong. I got sick at my stomach. But then I went into the group psychology, and I thought it was wrong, but I thought, well, the feds should be punished, so people should this and that.
Today
Now I
is
think
February 28th, 1993. We all know what happened that morning. There were lives taken. We're going to read all the names of everyone who lost their life here at Mount Carmel on February the 28th, as well as April the 19th. I'd like to begin with the names of those Branch Davidians that were killed here on February the 28th. Winston Blake, England. Peter Gent, Australia. Peter Hipsman, United States. Harry Dale Jones, United States. Michael Schroeder, United States. Jadine Wendell, United States. Also on that date, 4 BATF agents lost their lives. Conway LeBleu, Todd McKeon, Robert Williams, and Stephen Willis. On April the 19th, fire took the lives of the following. Chanel Andrade, United States. Jennifer Andrade, United States. Catherine Andrade, United States. Ulrich Rick George Bennett, England. Susan Benta, England. Mary Jean Borst, United States. Pablo Cohen, Israel. Abadawalo Dabo Davies, Nigeria and England. Sherry Helena Doyle, United States. Beverly Elliott, England. Doris Fagan, Jamaica, England. Yvette Fagan, Jamaica, England. Lisa Marie Ferris, United States. Raymond Friesen, Canada. Sandra Harriel, England. Diana Henry, England. Paulina Henry, England. Philip Henry, England. Stephen Henry, England. Zilla Henry, Jamaica, England. Novelette Sinclair Hipsman, Canada. Floyd Houtman, United States. Sherry Jewell, United States. Cyrus Howell Koresh, United States. David Koresh, United States. Rachel Olivia Susanna Jones Howell Koresh, United States. Star Howell Koresh, United States. Chica Jones Koresh, United States. Little One Jones Koresh, United States. Michelle Jones Thibodeau, United States. Serenity C. Jones Koresh, United States. David Michael Jones, United States. Jeffrey Little, United States. Nicole Elizabeth Gent Little, Australia. Dalen Lord Gent, Australia. Paige Gent, United States. Unnamed aborted fetus Gent that died during the siege, United States. Livingston Malcolm, Jamaica, England. Annetta Marie Martin, United States. Douglas Wayne Martin, United States. Lisa Marie Martin, United States. Sheila Renee Martin, United States. Wayne Martin, United States. Diana Martin, England. Abigail Martinez, United States. Audrey Martinez, United States. Crystal Barrios, United States. Isaiah Taco Barrios, United States. Joseph Samuel Martinez, United States. Juliet Santoyo, United States. John Mark McBean, Jamaica, England. Allison Bernadette Monbelly, England. Melissa Morrison, England. Rosemary Morrison, England. Sonia Murray, England. Teresa Nobrega, England. James Jimmy Lloyd Riddle, United States. Rebecca Sapia, New Zealand. Judith Schneider, United States. Lina Schneider, United States. Stephen Schneider, United States. Clifford Sellers, England. Floricita Sonobi, Philippines. Scott Kochiro Sonobi, United States. Aisha Garfus Summers, Australia. Startle Summers, United States. Unnamed abortus fetus Summers, United States. Gregory Allen Summers, United States. Hollywood Sylvia, United States. Lorraine Sylvia, England, United States. Rachel Sylvia, United States. Rita Vaega, China, United States. Neil Vaega, New Zealand, United States. Mark Wendell, United States. There are a couple of survivors who've died since 1993. We have stones here for them and the flowers, and they will be placed over here later. James Lauder, United States. He passed away November the 25th, 1996. Jamie Martin, United States. Jamie passed away February the 11th of this year. We have also a number of survivors that are still in prison, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about each one of them. Renus Abram, born February 26, 1964. He's a British businessman and musician of Greek heritage. He joined the Davidians in 1991. He escaped the fire. He's serving 40-year sentence. If you'd like to write to him, his name and number and where he's located is available here, and you can get a copy of this. He's currently in Jessup, Georgia. Brad Branch, born January 31st, 1959. He's a Navy veteran and technician from Texas, a frequent visitor to Mount Carmel who came out during the siege. He's serving a 40-year sentence. He's currently in Beaumont, Texas. Jamie Castillo, born June the 4th, 1968. He's a California drummer, a guitarist who joined the Davidians in 1988 and escaped the fire. He's serving a 40-year sentence. He's currently in Beaumont, Texas. Graham Craddock, born November the 29th, 1961. He's an engineer from Australia who had been at Mount Carmel for a year and escaped the fire. He's serving a 20-year sentence. He's in Oakdale, Louisiana. Paul Fata, born February the 28th, 1958. He's a businessman from Hawaii who joined the Davidians in the late 80s. He was outside of Mount Carmel on February 28th of 93. He's serving a 15-year sentence. He's in Safford, Arizona. Kevin Whitecliffe, born June the 4th, 1968. He's from Hawaii. He's the father of two who had been at Mount Carmel for a year, came out during the siege. He's serving a 40-year sentence. He's currently in Beaumont, Texas. And finally, Livingston Fagan, born May 15th, 1959 in Jamaica. He's a social worker and has a master in theology. He spent most of his life in Britain. He's the father of two who lost his wife and mother in the fire. He exited during the siege. He's serving a 40-year sentence in Oklahoma City. He had been at Leavenworth, Kansas, where he was treated so inhumanely that there's a grand jury impaneled now to look at what some of the guards have been doing there. And that's why he is now in Oklahoma City during that investigation, for fear that his life could be in danger if he was left there at Leavenworth. And so hopefully some of that may be straightened out. Livingston Fagan has had a very, very tough 5 years, as they all have. But Livingston won't play their games. Livingston has been put outside nude and hosed down in the winter, and then put in a cold cell with nothing on, because he just refuses to play any of their games. Those are the men that are in prison, and if you'd like to write them, we have the addresses available to where they all are, and I'm sure that they'd love to hear from you. We bow our heads just for a minute or so for those that lost their lives here 5 years ago. Thank you. I'd like to personally, on behalf of all the Branch Davidians that are here, survivors, I'd like to thank you for coming today and spending your time and letting all of the survivors know exactly how feel. They appreciate your being here. And feel free to come in and look through the museum. It'll get larger. There'll be more here as time goes by. And thank you all very, very much for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Clive asked me to say something for him. A thank you on behalf of all of the survivors. To those who contributed, helped with the thoughts and the prayers, their labors, their efforts, and their funds in getting the museum, the memorial up, so that you can all see, better understand what's happened here. The thank you is to Lynn, to Krista, to Andrew, to Linda, to Roy, to David, to Bonnie, to Farrell, to Rick, to Mark, to Sean, to Gary, to Bill, Barjona, Ted, Edna, Ben, and Tommy. Thank you very much.
Now, if you'd like to gather and have lunch, we tried to get a restaurant that would just hold us, but they're not available. They couldn't do it. But we'd like to meet at Doc's Riverside Restaurant. If you know where that is, that's great. If you don't, when you leave here, you can take Loop 340 and go around the loop to I-35 and then head south on I-35 toward Waco. And it's Doc's Riverfront Restaurant. And you'll see it on the right-hand side and exit just before the river, and then you'll be able to go down into the restaurant. They got plenty of parking, and a lot of us will be down there. And again, thank you very much for coming.